Are we live? What up, people? It's your boy, the host with the most. I do not brag or boast, and I'm coming to you guys live from coast to coast. It's your boy. I'm Chris the Don One. Welcome to another fabulous edition of Based on a True Story podcast. It's your host, your moderator. What's up? What's up? As always, rate, comment, subscribe, share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this channel lit in the YouTube algorithm. You heard me? What's up, people? What's up? Be sure to check out my last live stream. I uploaded it a couple hours ago, about 5 hours ago. Be sure to check that out at your leisure. You dig? Okay. Secondly, I like to thank everybody that has been following my channel, been supporting my channel by subscribing, hitting the like button, hitting the share button. I really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I really do. I really do. And let's get into today's story time. Story time, story time, story time. I'm going to tell you some crazy put out stories. Now, before I begin today's story, I first like to give you guys a disclaimer and describe what is put out, being put out. So I used to live in these apartments in the hood. You know, they say the hood ain't no good, but sometimes you got to get into where you fit in. Sometimes you got to live. Sometimes you got to live at places you don't want to live, but you got to realize it's temporary until you can get yourself in a better situation. So I used to live in these apartments that was in the hood. Now, these apartments were not really that bad. They was trying to do better, but unfortunately, it's the company that you keep. You dig what I'm saying? There was a lot of neighbors that didn't really care about the conditions of the neighborhood. The landlord tried to do their best, their due diligence to, you know, try to do better up here. And then there's a few neighbors like myself that try to improve it, but sooner rather than later, when there's more bad than good, sometimes bad outweighs good. So that's pretty much how that went down. They were not run down. It wasn't trash everywhere or, people spray painting on the wall. But, there was some elements of, this probably won't be a good place if you got like a young family. If you try to you got like a little young family. I wouldn't suggest living out there. But if you single and you trying to get in between, trying to get into a better situation, it's a good place to start off at. I wouldn't want to stay there, but that's pretty much what I did. I lived in this neighborhood. I stayed there. I stayed there for about 5 years, about 4 or 5 years until I was able to find myself in a better situation. Okay, so I was working at this job. It was UPS, and I would work the graveyard shift. So I would have to get up mad early, well, mad late to go to the graveyard shift at UPS. It was great money at UPS, and this was after if you've been following my channel, I done told you guys plenty of stories about me going to college and things of that nature. There was like a year or two outside of, when I decided I no longer want to pursue school. Okay. School ain't for everybody. So I decided, hey, look, I need to establish myself as far as getting a good job. Hopefully, if I get in a decent job, work hard at it, get myself promoted through the job rankings, sooner rather than later, that job that I started at the bottom floor, hopefully I can work my way as high as I can possibly go. Okay, and I felt like UPS was a perfect opportunity to spread my wings. I never heard anything bad about UPS. The only thing I heard about UPS was, they work you real, real hard. So, but the money was worth it, and they fit, they fit my lifestyle around my schedule. Because at that time, I didn't have no kids. I was like in and out of different relationships. So that was pretty much the status of my lifestyle. I was still out there being a knucklehead, but at the same time, I didn't have no kids. I wasn't hooked on no hardcore drugs. I wasn't into no alcohol or anything like that. So I just mind my business and just went to work. So yeah, UPS, that was the place I was working at. Okay, so I would like work mad. I would have to go in like around 9 o'clock at night, and I would stay there. I would stay there from 9 to almost 4 a.m. Now the funny thing about UPS is they do have 8 hour shifts, but at that particular time, as a starter, you have to get into where you can fit in. But they got paid every week, and the money was super, super good. It was a whole lot better than other jobs I associated myself with. Very flexible hours. They fit around my schedule, and I was off on Saturdays. I was off on the weekend, so I'm like, cool. First started at UPS, I was unloading trucks. It was pretty cool, but it would stress your body out, particularly, lifting boxes and things of that nature. And I talked to my manager about it. I said, I don't mind the work, but, working in the trailers, I asked him were there other positions available. I was hopefully wanting to, you know, get as far as being like a deliverer, delivering things, UPS delivering service. Okay, and there's like a method to the madness to the delivery service. But he said, I tell you what, there's a position open at the air office or air freight. I said air office, air freight. So um, there was like another portion of the building where you go into this room and you organize these packages and make sure they go to the right place because they go, they're air shipment. They're either going somewhere or they're coming here, and you just got to organize them. That was a good job. It took a lot of stress and wear and tear on my body, particularly my back. But you have to really think real fast and real quick because you have to really you have to really pay attention to where you send the packages, which shoot do they go through, and you have to really pay attention. You just can't just throw them anywhere. So all of the packages had this different vent to go through, depending on where they're going or where they're coming. So one side of the building, those individuals handled packages that were coming to be delivered here, and on the other side of the building, we had the packages that were going elsewhere. Real small packages, like not. I'd say the biggest package I ever had to deal with on that conveyor belt is like a shoebox. But other than that, pretty reasonable, and I liked the job. It was cool. All right. So I was doing that for a min. So I was still living at. I was still living in the apartment. Now, like I said, I have to go in real late, and I got off real early. Now, um, sometimes when I would go to work, it'd be activity outside. You know, let's just face it, there's people that were in our neighborhood that didn't have to work a 9 to 5. They were hustling. If you dig what I'm saying, they were selling something. They were selling goods, they were selling drugs, or they were selling ass. Okay, but either way, they were selling something. Okay, so they would constantly be, out and about, like around, 9 o'clock. Around 8, 9 o'clock, I would normally see them as I was making my way to my vehicle. Now I was pretty cool with everybody in the hood. I never got my apartment broke into. I've heard other people that were not so lucky as me, getting the apartment broken into. And there's a reason why my apartment never gotten broken into was because, thanks for the thumbs up, was because that, I kept to myself. I wasn't no flasher. I didn't have no car that was sitting on rims. I didn't, let the world know that I get money and things of that nature. And, I never, talk, I never associated with anybody, let alone allowed anybody into my apartment. And my apartment had the bare minimum. Okay, had a bed, had a couch, had a TV in the living room, had a smaller TV in the bedroom. I did have a PlayStation, but it was not hooked up to the internet. Because I didn't have internet at that time. I had cable, but I didn't have internet. Okay, so that was pretty much my setup in my apartment. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't. It was for me. That let's just put it that way. It was for me. Okay, so I would go out when I would go to work. I would go out and I would see all various types of activity. It just seems like it's more active at night because that's where everybody, pretty much that's what everybody was doing overnight. Okay. So it was one night I was coming out of my apartment and there was this couple. Now, I'm pretty cool with the couple. I say hi to them. It's a male and a female. All right. I was very respectable. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't gonna hold you, fam. His girlfriend was fine as fuck. She was fine as fuck, but I was respectable. I wasn't trying to holler at her. I did look at her. I know she knew that I was looking at her, but that's as far as I ever went with it. I wasn't, being disrespectful, trying to holler at her because I knew that, she had a man. You dig what I'm saying? So, they would be out sometimes sitting on the steps. And when they first moved in, they were like a lovely dovey couple. And I figured, I didn't say too much to them. I would say hi. I would say hi. I would say bye. They would say hi. They would say bye. Very respectful. Dude was like a barber. From what I gathered from the brief conversations I had with both of them, I would always talk to both of them. I wouldn't talk to him by himself, and I wouldn't talk to her by herself, but I would talk to both of them because I'm trying to be respectable. And there's a reason why I did that, okay? Because I felt like if I would constantly talk to him and not necessarily talk to her, I didn't want her to throw no attitude at me thinking I'm too good to talk to her, okay? And the reason why, I didn't talk to her a lot without him was because I didn't want him to think that I'm trying to holler at his girl. I was being, like I said, I'm a respectable individual. Now I might think otherwise, but I was very respectable. Didn't disrespect nobody's, situation or try to, holler at somebody's girl. Okay, that's I don't get down like that. Okay, so yeah, I would see them. And in the beginning, they were like a little lovely dovely couple. They'll be by the steps. Sometimes I would see them at night. Sometimes I would see them in the daytime. But nevertheless, I would see them, and I would, say hi to them, say bye to them, make casual conversation, keep it pushing, keep it moving. You dig what I'm saying? So I say about like 2-3 months. The whole attitude with them kind of shifted. It kind of changed. They would, would argue sometimes. They would fight sometimes. They would be yelling at themselves, be yelling at each other sometimes. Hey, look, man, it's like this. Male or female, when you're in a relationship, your significant other, they're gonna put up with you as much as you can. They're gonna give you your space. They're gonna, allow you to try to figure it out to, do better or, get into a situation where you can become better. And, females are like that. Females ain't gonna, breathe down your throat, saying, why you still ain't got no job, this, that, and the third, or at least making some money. She's gonna allow you to figure it out. But it's only so much time she's gonna allow you to just sit around the house and play 2K all day. I'm not saying that that's what he was doing, but I'm just saying he didn't have no hustle in his step. He wasn't trying to, I don't know. I just didn't, to me, he never asked me, he knew I worked at UPS. He never once asked me, hey, man, you think you hook me up at UPS? I would have tried to hook him up at UPS or, told him about other jobs. But every time we would be in conversation mode, he would be talking about what's going on in the hood, this, that, and the third, and pretty much that's it. Okay. Now, he did talk about when he used to be a barber. He used to work at this barber shop. Barbershop got closed down, and he's trying to pursue a job back in at another barbershop. Now, see, the problem with that is, he was working like we call them under the shade tree barbershops. Basically, nobody don't really got no license. It'd be like one barber that has a license, and then if you can cut hair, he'll allow you to work in there. Okay, he wouldn't try to, press you because you don't have a license, or he'll give you an opportunity to work. And if you got to get the necessary paperwork, he'll allow you to get the necessary paperwork, but still work at the shop. Now that's the shop that he was working on, but they closed it down because of that very same reason. Okay. So it's kind of hard for him to get a job as a barber because he didn't have the proper paperwork. Okay. And I think you have to rent a booth, to become a barber. And I don't think he had the money because he wasn't no hustler. He wasn't selling drugs or selling stolen merchandise or merchandise in general. He wasn't trying to. He was no stick up kid. He definitely ain't trying to sell no ass, and he ain't definitely putting his girlfriend out there to sell her ass. Okay, so he had no motion in none of those avenues. Okay, but he didn't really push himself to say, hey, look, maybe I can just find something like work at McDonald's, work there until I can get myself situated, and then I can find maybe I can go to school, get the proper paperwork and become a barber, or maybe find another hookup where I go to another barber shop and, they don't, muscle me about my paperwork, just let me just slide in there and then just let me cut hair. Now, dude can cut hair. I ain't gonna hold you. Dude can cut hair. All right. He messed with my head a few times. Okay, and he would do it on the low. You dig what I'm saying? But dude can cut real good hair. And from what people, he would cut other people around the hood their head. So no one had no complaints about his, and he'll make a little money that way. But let's just face it, when people know you're in a bad situation or you ain't in a situation of an advantage, people are going to take that disadvantage that you have and make it their advantage. Because people will come up to him and say, "Yeah, I won't mind you cutting my hair," but they'll try to, uh, get him to do it for less and get him to do more things for less as far as cutting hair. Man, if you get the works as far as getting your hair cut, man, you're gonna probably come out of that barbershop $25 short. Okay, you did what I'm saying? Because it's you want lines and all this stuff. Edge up. You want your hair cut. You want your eyebrow. All that stuff. You want your beard trimmed or cut or whatever. Okay, that stuff costs extra money, and that's when the barber tax on. That's how barbers make their killing on the other stuff that you want. Okay, not necessarily cutting your hair. Okay, so he was doing that, and people knew that everybody knew his situation. Everybody knew, you know, hey, I can probably get him to do all this for way less. Okay, but he was still doing it. Okay, he would come home with some money, but not a lot of money. Okay, basically, some, a little few bucks here and there, a few dollars here and there. Not a lot to pay a bill, not a lot to pay rent. I didn't know their situation. I do think that they was on Section 8. Okay, but I don't know that for sure. Okay, so like a couple of months, they would be, arguing back and forth and shit like that. Okay, so I paid it no mind, because I'm going hey, that ain't none of my business. I'm not trying to get into that. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a deacon. I'm not a reverend. I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm not a dating guru. That ain't none of my business. What y'all doing, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Sometimes I'll go up and down stairs. They would constantly be arguing back and forth. Now, it got kind of worse because she would put him out of the house, okay? She would put him out of the house. He would have to, sit on the steps, just sit outside all day. He didn't have no car, so he would just sit outside all day. Everybody knew what was going on, but nobody confronted him and any, nothing like that. Okay, so he would sit outside all day. Okay, now in the summertime, it'd be super hot out there. I'd be like, God damn, man. I'd rather just try to find me a 9 to 5 than just sit outside all fucking day. Okay, but that was his situation. Now he would do that, but hey, look, when you arguing with your significant other, she kicks you out, you're gonna just, the first couple of times she kicked you out, you consider it as a hall pass. You get to go hang with your friends, whatever. You be gone half the day, come back. She's probably in bed or probably done calmed down. After a couple of times, it's like a hall pass. But then after that, it gets kind of irritating, particularly when you ain't got no job. And depending on the elements of outside, it could be super hot out there. It could be freezing cold out there. And she would do this for like 6 to 8 months, just constantly putting them out. Like I said, in the beginning, he was putting up with the shit. But then after a while, he got kind of irritated about the shit. So now the arguments, they started intense, and you can hear that they be in the house and you can hear them yelling, and I'm like I'm on the floor with them. I'm on like the second floor with them. I'm like at the back end of the apartments. They're like the very first apartments you see when you go up top of the steps. You can hear the whole argument from that whole flow. You dig what I'm saying? But I didn't hear nothing like he beating on her or it's getting out of hand or out of control. And if it did get to that point, I know a lot of people are going to say, Chris, you wrong for doing it. But yo, man, I'm keeping my nose out of that shit. You dig what I'm saying? I'm not trying to, I'm not going to call the police. Now, if he got like if I hear gunshots or she's, yelling, talking about, help, he's trying to kill me, something like that shit, I'll probably call the police. But, it was just, there would just, be loud arguments. There was no banging or anything like that. Okay. So they would argue. Okay. And I would just, I just mind my fucking business. All right. So then she started putting him out, and then he'd be gone for like 2 or 3 days. Now, sometimes he would get in the house because he got his own key. Now, they would argue about her wanting the key. He wouldn't give her the key because he knew if he give her that key, it's a wrap. She's going to put him out for good. He's not going to be able to come back in there. He knew that shit. So she would write notes on the door. Big ass notes. Like when you walk up the steps, you see these notes. Okay. I don't know if she was doing that because just letting him know, or she's just, throwing his business out there in the hood. But sometimes I'll be walking up the steps and I'll be seeing these big fat ass notes on their door. She's saying, do not come in the house. I don't want you in here. Go to your mom. Some shit like that. Okay. Some wild shit, shit that like, hey, look, you know how like when you was a kid, your mom would leave notes on the refrigerator telling you what not to eat, or what to eat, this, that, and the third. It'd be like a note, and you read it and shit. Not gonna understand that as a kid, but these some grown motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? And you can tell that she's mad by the way how she writes, because the letters are real big, and it's like she's, screaming on the note. Okay, so I didn't pay it no mind. She didn't, it was no threats or anything like that. Okay. So that went on for like a couple of weeks. Like I said, I'm still working at UPS. I'm working the night shift. I'm coming out of the house getting ready to go to work. And he's sitting out there late at night. He just sitting out there minding his business. I say, what's up? He say, what's up back? Now, as I'm walking down the steps, I notice he got all his shoes. Now, apparently, he was a shoe collector. I don't know where he got the money to be a shoe collector. All I know, he was a shoe collector. Maybe he got the money when he used to work at the barbershop. I don't know. Right? So he's got all these different Jordans hanging on the balcony, all different colored Jordans. He's got the flu game Jordan shoes. He's got the padded leather Jordans. He's got the all black Jordan. He got all these fucking Jordan shoes just on the banister. Okay, I'm acting like I don't see the shit, but through my side eye, I'm going like, God damn, he got some. I mean, he got some name brand Jordan. These are not no fake shoes, folks. These are real motherfucking Jordan shoes, the official ones. Okay, so I'm walking down steps, and he says, hey. He knew my. He said, hey, Chris. And I said, yo, what's up? He said, are you interested in buying some shoes? Okay, and I played it off. I said, I don't think I'm gonna be able to fit those, dog, man, because I wear a 12. Okay. I'm thinking he wears like an 8, 9. I know my big ass feet, my big fat ass toes are not gonna fit in them fucking Jordan. But he had some nice shoes, you dig what I'm saying? So I went to work. Came back home. I walk up steps. He's not on the steps. So I just assumed that, she calmed down enough to allow him back in the house. Okay. So I go in, get my little sleep. I get like 3 or 4 hours of sleep. I go back out to go shopping. Okay. So as I'm going out, I still don't see him. Okay. I don't see her. I don't see him. So as I'm going downstairs, we got this nosy ass neighbor, this old black lady by the name of Betty. Betty knows everybody's motherfucking business in that apartment complex. Okay, if you're doing anything, Betty already knows. Okay, so as I'm walking, yeah, I'm a little nosy. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm a little nosy. I'm here and I'm talking to another neighbor about them upstairs. So apparently, from what Betty described, I don't know if she was there or not. They got into another argument late that night when he was trying to sell his shoes and shit. So they got into an argument. Apparently, somebody wanted to buy the Jordans, but they was going to get it for a real low price. Okay. And he didn't want to let them go. Now, I'm going to be real with you. Now, if you got some Jordans and somebody know your situation, you in a bad place, and somebody's trying to use that to their advantage to get some Jordans on the cheap, I would probably, hold down on that. I'm thinking, that's your female. I understand that she needs money, but she gotta be a realist. She gotta say, hey, look, that's too low of a price for them Jordans. Let's just hold off on selling the Jordans. Apparently, she wanted him to just sell the Jordans for whatever. Okay. And, this dude would have gotten a sweet deal for these Jordans. And, he just couldn't let them go. So he said no deal. Apparently, she called the cops, talking about they was arguing and fighting and shit. And then the cops sent him out, sent him away. Now I don't know if he really hit her. Like I said, they do be yelling and screaming at one another. But I have never once, heard him lay his hands on her. But then again, I'm not in the house. I don't know what the fuck's going on in the house. All I can hear is what I can hear. Okay. So like 2 or 3 days go by, peace and quiet and shit. 2 or 3 days later, I saw him. They back hugging up, lovely dovey. They hugging up and shit, booing up. Okay, so I'm thinking everything's good. You dig what I'm saying? I don't know the whole situation. I'm just thinking to myself, maybe she felt sorry for him. She done bailed him out, or he got released from jail. I don't know the situation. She allowed him back. He probably told her, line, told her a story like, hey, look, I'm going to try to do better. I'm trying to get a job, whatever. Okay, so that's, what I'm thinking. I'm not trying to get in their business and shit, okay? So for like the next couple of months, everything's good. He done found him a little job. He's like a bagger at this grocery store. It ain't what he wanted. He wanted to cut hair. I understand he wants to go back being a barber, but sometimes, man, you got to, just take what's offered. Sometimes you got to, get in where you can fit in. You dig what I'm saying? So he's like this bagger, Everything's good. He's getting a decent check, bringing it home. Okay. And taking care of the house. He's not taking. He's doing the best he can with what he got. Okay. She's okay with it from the beginning. All right. So I didn't hear no arguments, no complaints, no nothing. Okay. I'm going like, okay, this, everything's all good over there. All right. Couple of months, I tell about a month after that. A month after that. It wasn't even a couple of months. It was less than 30 days. I'm gonna say it's like maybe 20 days. I don't know. They right back at it again. You dig what I'm saying? They're arguing. It's not no real loud argument, but it's an argument. So I'm downstairs, I'm coming upstairs. I just got me something to eat. That nosy whole Betty, she was talking. So this time, I stopped for a second to just listen in to what she's saying. So basically, from the rundown, what Betty's telling me, they both hooked on some drugs. They hooked on drugs bad, okay? And that kind of explains how they be on and off. You dig what I'm saying? Some days they be hugging up, they booing up. No, I take that lie back. It be like 2 hours, they booing up. Then 2 hours after that fact, they arguing with one another. It's like, damn, man, y'all need to pick a struggle, man. Are y'all gonna be a happy couple or an angry couple? I don't know what's going on with y'all, okay? But I was saying to myself, it's gotta be something more than him not taking care of his responsibility. It's gotta be more to this than that, okay? Maybe she's seeing somebody, or maybe he's seeing somebody. I don't know, okay? So Betty was telling everybody that they both hooked. Okay, they hooked on that. They hooked on some drugs. Okay, they addicted to the drug. I don't know what type of drug they hooked on. I don't know if it's cane, crack, meth. I don't know, but whatever type of drugs it is, they hooked on phonics to it. Okay, so that explains the erratic behavior they have. They be up, they be down, they be up. They're never in the middle. They always up. They either they up or they down. Okay, so now they hooked on drugs and shit. Okay, I'm going like, God damn, that's kind of fucked up. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking to myself, man, how can y'all get hooked on drugs when y'all wasn't really working? I know she's on Section 8 and he had that little barbershop job, but goddamn, that barbershop job wasn't paying him that much for them to get, drugged up that way. But when like my dad used to say, when you in a bad situation, you want to get away. Most people drink, most people smoke weed, most people smoke a pack of Marlboro cigarettes, and some people just take drugs. Okay, just to get them away from their situation, from their struggle, okay, and from their pain. All right. So I'm not judging them. Okay. So now I know that they hooked on drugs and shit. So I took out the trash a couple of weeks ago. After I found out about that, and her boyfriend is not around. I'm assuming he's at work. I don't know. I'm assuming he's at work. I'm taking out the trash. All of a sudden, I see her talking to some neighbor. It's like we got, it's like the apartments. It's not like one big apartment. It's like a bunch of little It's like apartments. It's not one big building. It's like 3 or 4 buildings with apartments. Okay, so she was in building 2, talking to another female, and this female. She's a functional junkie. Okay, we all know she's a functional junkie. Okay, now the story to her is her boyfriend is a dope dealer, so she can get drugs on the regular. She's just a functional junkie. Okay, and now this girl is hanging with her. So that kind of explains how she got hooked on drugs in the first place, to me. All right. So I'm out here taking the trash. I hear somebody go, hey, Chris. And this girl, she's on top of the balcony on the 3rd floor. She sees me taking the trash. I wave. I just was respectable. I just waved. That's all I did. I swear to God, all I did was wave. I didn't tell her to come here. I ain't tell her to do none of that shit, okay? Next thing I know, she flies down the balcony She goes down. She from the third floor. She make it all the way down to the first floor. She runs to the dumpster. She starts talking to me. Okay, start talking to me. Now this ain't no normal conversation type of talk. Okay, this is like, what are you doing right now type of talk. And I'm thinking to myself, look, I'm not getting myself in no situation with you. You dig what I'm saying? I'm not trying to, do anything with you because I know what you're going to do. If I do something with you and I got nosy ass Betty, I know she's looking through the window, seeing me talking to you. Then you got this functional junkie on the third floor. I know she's going to say something. And I know you're going to say something to your boyfriend to make him mad. So I'm just being friendly. I'm going like, what's up? She, making bet. She's just making casual talk about, what how's work and, just some basic shit. You dig what I'm saying? Nothing life threatening. She's not asking me for my phone number. She's not giving me her phone number. None of that shit. Okay. So that was that. So that's all I got from that. So we just basic talk. Okay. It didn't lead into nothing or any of that shit. So I told her, well, I got to go upstairs. I made up some excuse. I had to call my mom. I just made up some damn excuse. Okay. So I went upstairs. All right. I say about a week later, I saw her again. Now, next time I saw her, she's got a black eye. I'm going like, oh shit. Like, I don't know what happened. Maybe she done said something to old boy. Maybe he was on one of them bins. Maybe she's on one of them. It's unexcusable. Like, some people say like, hey, maybe she deserved. I don't think anybody deserved getting a black eye. I really don't think. Now you could have said something and did something that would led up to that. But hey, whoever hit you, they did wrong. You know what I'm saying? I already know it's her boyfriend. You dig what I'm saying? So she got like this. She got this big fat black eye. Okay. I'm pretending like I don't see the shit. So I'm looking up at the sky. All right. So as I'm walking upstairs, I see old boy sitting on the balcony. I say, what's up to him? He ain't saying nothing to me. I'm going like, okay. I'm thinking like maybe he's on one of his, bins, maybe, he's in a mood. I don't know. I didn't pay it no mind. I didn't pay it no fucking attention. So, you don't want to say hi to me? Okay, cool. We'll just leave it like that. So I walk back into my apartment. Okay. So it's been like, I say about like a week or two later, the sheriff department came. When you see the sheriff department, that ain't good. The sheriff department, you see the sheriff go to somebody's apartment, that's eviction time. Somebody done got put out. Okay. So she done, apparently they got put out because they haven't been paying the rent. I don't know what happened to old boy's job. I know it wasn't a lot of money, but I assumed that she was on Section 8. That's my assumption. I don't know that to be a fact, but all I know is they got put out. So they both just left their furniture out there because they ain't had no place to put it at. They ain't got no money for no moving truck, none of that shit. So, they just left their shit out there by the dumpster, okay? So they began to start living with that functional junkie that was in the other building with the other apartments on the top floor. So they was like going to the dumpster trying to pick up what they can to put into that lady's apartment. You dig what I'm saying? So they got was like a little table and a microwave. That's all they brought up there. Okay. So I'm going like, okay, I put two and two together. So I said both of them live up there. You dig what I'm saying? They all junkies. You dig what I'm saying? So, I say about like a month, maybe a month and a half. I'm not hearing nothing from them because they don't live next to me no more. So if they arguing, I can't really tell because they're in another building. Okay. But it was one night I was going to my job, and as I was going to my job, this functional junkie, she's got this Lexus truck. It's not no brand new Lexus truck. It's like, I say about 5-10 years old. Okay. It's a Lexus truck. Okay. and she was just sitting in there. And I wasn't paying no mind. I was going to my car, getting ready to drive off. And I noticed that the girl that got put out, she's sitting in the truck too. They both sitting in the truck. Okay. I'm not paying it no mind. They ain't, ain't none of my business. And then next thing I know, I see two lighters go up. Now, these two lighters, they are unusual lighters. They're like regular cigarette lighters, but the flame is super, super high. So I'm thinking to myself that they doing drugs in the lady's Lexus truck. I mean, and they had that fire up high. Okay, it's none of my fucking business. Okay, so I'm assuming that they smoking crack. So they smoking crack in the Lexus truck. Ain't none of my motherfucking business. I'm going to work. I go to work, come back. Um, I come back. The lady that lives in the next building, the functional junkie, stopped me. She said, "Hey, you got jumper cables?" I said, "No, no." She said, "Excuse me, do you have jumper cables?" And I said, "No, I don't have no jumper cables." Low key, I had some jumper cables, but I'm not giving her no jump. Man, look, let me tell y'all something. And you can learn from this. Never give a crackhead anything. Because if you give them something, you're not going to get it back from them. Okay? I done been through this with another crackhead. I used to have jumper cables. And this crackhead car battery was, long story short, I let him borrow my jumper cables. I ain't seen that motherfucker since then. So for now, I don't let nobody borrow my shit. Particularly when I find out that you own that shit. You dig what I'm saying? So I was telling her, nah, I ain't got no jumper cables. Okay? So I had some in the trunk. I lied, but I wasn't gonna tell her that shit. So apparently they were smoking crack all fucking night, had the lights on. They forgot to turn the motherfucking lights off when they went back upstairs. And when she came back the next morning, now her battery's fucking dead. Okay? So I went upstairs. I got me a cup. I got me a little light night. A light nap. I came back out. Her drug dealer boyfriend came home, and got her boots, got her Lexus truck running again. Okay, now her boyfriend, drug dealer, don't live with her. And I used to think that they was boyfriend girlfriend. Come to find out, it's just a trick. It was just a little trick he had, that he would go to her house, uh, do some things for a piece of chain, and he's out. Okay, now I ain't gonna lie to you. She's kind of light skinned. She had a badass body. For her to be a functional junkie, she had a fine ass body. I see why dude was hollering at her. Okay, it was one, and I'm gonna step away from the story real quick. It was one time, it was one summer, she had to walk to the grocery store, and she had on this tight ass dress, man, and she's sweating, right? And the dress is sticking to her body. You can see her ass. I see why dude, took care of. He didn't take care of her. He just, if she needed a hit, he would just give her a hit. She needed a little money, he would give her a little money, or a boost or whatever. I'm sure he just banging that. Okay, so that's just a little side chick that he would mess with on and off. Okay, I used to think they were boyfriend and girlfriend, but I would never see his car there every night. I would just see her truck. I would occasionally see him, so he must got a bunch of side chicks all over town. He just hopped from one side chick to the next side chick. Okay, anyway, so back to the story. So he boosted her car, stayed up there for a couple of hours, and then he was gone. Okay, now I say about time after that, I noticed old boy that had the girl that they used to live on the second floor with me. He got put out. Now, he didn't raise hell or yell or anything like that, because he understood the assignment. He knows that this functional junkie, she's got she's got a drug dealer as a boyfriend, and I'm pretty sure he's got a pistol. So He went on and just living off the street. He was just living off, he would just be in the streets. And, just if anybody would let him stay for a couple of nights, they'll do that. Now, at the beginning, there was people that felt sorry for him, let him spend the night, a couple of nights, then he'll have to go find another place to lay his head down. Sometimes I see him sleeping in the streets and shit like that, you know. And sometimes he'll go to his mama, his family house, if you down bad, man, you should just go straight to your family house because your family know you more than everybody, than anybody, and your family gonna have more love for you than anybody else. You dig what I'm saying? So he would do that. Okay. So I would see him on and off. I wouldn't see him a lot. I would see him on and off. And old girl was still living with the functional junkie. Now apparently, old girl got connected by some old dude. This dude like 50, 60 years old. I don't know. Old dude. She left the functional junkie's house and started living with the old dude. And I never seen her since then. Okay. When she started living with the older guy, I didn't see her or her boyfriend at the apartment complex, but occasionally I would see them every once in a while in the grocery store. Okay. Whenever I would go shopping, I would occasionally see them. Okay. And I would see him give haircuts to the homeless people. So somehow, some way, he found some clippers. Maybe he found his own clippers. I don't know. And at this grocery store, they got a little outlet where you can plug your clippers. And it's like a grocery store slash Starbucks. So he would just do free haircuts for the homeless people. It's a good thing to do that for the homeless people. Man, look, you don't know where these people heads been at. You don't know if they got lights in their head. They probably ain't washed their head in many moons. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if he's giving free haircuts away or they giving him a little dope on the side, a little money on the side. They homeless. You know what I'm saying? And at first, it was like one or two people that he would cut their head. Then it became a whole line full of homeless people. So Starbucks and the grocery store, they was tripping about it. They would, tell them, "Hey, man, you can't be doing that here." Which you're not supposed to do that over there in the first place. You dig what I'm saying? So, Starbucks or the grocery store, maybe both of them, they call the police. Police, told him not to come back over there no more. And if they catch him, it'd be trespassing. Okay, so he was gone for like I don't know. The few times I went to the grocery store or went to Starbucks, I wouldn't see them. So I'm just assuming, they done moved on someplace else. I ain't seen them since then. Now, a month after that, guess I'm going to Starbucks. I'm getting that summertime drink. It's got some like man, it tastes good. It's like a summer blast or some shit like that. And I was hooked on phonics on this drink that Starbucks would have. Okay, so as I'm walking to go to Starbucks, there they go, back at that same little spot. They're not cutting no hair, but they're just sitting there. So I see his girlfriend and him. So I'm saying, hey, how y'all doing? So I asked him, I said, hey, how you doing? He said, I'm doing all right, I'm doing all right. I said, good, 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 good. So I go to her and I say, hey, how you doing? And then he would say, oh, she's doing fine. Now, when I saw her leg is broken. I don't know what happened. It's in a cast and her leg's broken. I don't know if he broke her leg. I don't know if somebody else broke her leg. I don't know if she broke it on accident. I don't know if she broke it on purpose. All I know, she's got a broken leg and she's hopping on crutches. Okay. But apparently it's got something to do with him. Okay. Because he was very uh territorial with her. Because, like I said, I said hi to her And he said, and he answered for her. It's like, hey, she's doing okay. I'm like, okay, cool. All right. Not my problem. All right. I go in there, get my little drink from Starbucks, uh, walk back to my car, and I wave at both of them. And then that's the last I saw of them. Okay. So it was like a month after that, I went to the grocery store to go get some late night shopping. So as I'm getting some late night shopping, guess who I see? I see old girl. Okay, uh, and she's no, I was. It wasn't no a couple of months ago. It was like maybe 5 or 6 months after that, after that little incident. I see old girl. Hold on one second. Okay, I see old girl. It's gonna be an echo, y'all. I apologize. Okay, so I see old girl. So she's a lot thicker now. Not in a good way, but she's a little bit heavy. She don't have the crutches no more. And I said, "Hey, how you doing?" She said, "I'm doing fine." And she still has that smile. She still has that smile. Despite her situation and what her situation is, she still got that smile. Now, I will say when she smiled, she's missing some teeth up front. I don't know if it's because of tooth decay or somebody done knocked the teeth out, but nevertheless, she's smiling. So I said, okay, hey, how you doing? She said she's doing fine. So I asked her, what's up with you? How you been living? She said, I've been doing okay. I've been doing okay. And sorry about that. I'm moving around right now. She said, I'm doing okay. How are you? And I said, I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. Okay. So I saw her, and then I said bye to her. I didn't ask her about her boyfriend. I ain't it's none of my business. You dig what I'm saying? And I didn't and after that little time that running I had with her, I didn't see her after that. You dig what I'm saying? I did not see her after that. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know if she still lives here or whatever. But the few times I have ran into her a couple of times, but I didn't speak to her. Like, I don't know if y'all have a Family Dollar. We got Family Dollar and the Dollar Tree. Okay? There was one time I saw her at the Dollar Tree. This was like a while ago. I saw her walking into the Dollar Tree with a backpack. That's not a good sign when you see somebody walk in an establishment with an empty backpack. Just not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. Okay. I'm not saying that she is shoplifting, but she did look like a shoplifter. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Okay. And I hope I can. There's really nothing else to say about that story. It's just, hey, I hope she's doing okay. I hope she's sobered up. She's off that shit. But hey, look, uh, you can only do so much for people. You can pray all day about. I hope this person get help. I hope this person does this. I hope this person does that. You can pray to God all day. It's ultimately their decision whether or not they want to do better for themselves. Ultimately. Now, as far as her boyfriend, I haven't seen her boyfriend. Last time I saw her boyfriend was at Starbucks when he was speaking for her. Okay, that was the last time I've seen him since then. You dig what I'm saying? So that's one hood story. The next hood story, there was just like this couple, um, and same apartment, and it was an older couple, real older couple. Now they were, I was cool with both of them. Her husband every 4th of July would barbecue, and I like barbecue, but I just didn't like the process of barbecue. Meaning, you got to get a grill, charcoal. I didn't want to do the work to get the barbecue. I just wanted the finished product of barbecue. And the only time I can eat barbecue all day long, I can eat it all year long with no problems. The only problem is man, I don't want to go through all that hassle because it's because you got to because just the process of cooking barbecue. Now I've cooked barbecue before, but I don't do it often. Okay, so this dude every 4th of July or when it's summertime would cook. He would especially in the summertime months, he'll at least be barbecuing like 3 or 4 times. And be smelling good. One time I said, damn, that stuff smells good. He said, it tastes good too. Hey, get you a piece of chicken. So he had some chicken already finished, had a little barbecue on it. I tasted, man, that shit was the bomb. I said, damn, that shit good. He said, Chris, I tell you what, if you got some chicken or whatever you want to barbecue, just bring it over here and I'll cook it for you, no charge. You dig what I'm saying? I said, cool. Okay, so that was our little arrangement. Now I would get like a tray of chicken, and if he cooks half of them, I let him have the other chicken. You dig what I'm saying? Because you gotta pay people for what they do. You dig? That's the only way I could have paid them. Okay. So I don't want to be a freeloader. I would contribute some type of way. Okay. So he would barbecue. Nice old couple, okay? And, he would work at Burger King. There was not too many Burger Kings in my city. There was one like 5 or 10 minutes away from where I live at. And then the next Burger King, it's like 5 miles or 10 miles away. It's not too many Burger King. There's more you'll run into more McDonald's before you'll run into like 8 McDonald's before you can find one Burger King, if you can find a Burger King. You dig what I'm saying? So one day he would always walk to work. So one day I called him. I said, hey man, you want me to take you to work? He said, cool. He said, yeah. So occasionally if I see him going to work or if I see him coming home, I would pick him up. You dig what I'm saying? He said, hey man, if you want to come to Burger King, get some free food, I don't mind, doing that for you. And I said, nah, man, you don't need to do that for me. As long as you barbecue, and I contribute some kind of way, that'll be payment. He said, okay, fair enough. So that we had an understanding like that. Okay. So, there was a nice couple, had no issues with them. Now, I say fast forward, 3 years after that, I noticed a change. You dig what I'm saying? They would sometimes argue. And then she would do the same little game like the couple that lived on the same floor with me, do this, the put out game, putting a husband out. I'm going to say this. That's kind of low down. If you're a male or a female and you putting out your significant other, I mean, how low of a person you have to be to kick somebody out, particularly when you know their situation. It's not like they got their own place. They got this place with you. You dig what I'm saying? I can understand if you want some space. You might want them to stay away from them. The apartments, I'm not saying these apartments are spacious. They like condominiums or mansions or shit like that. But trust me, there's plenty of space where you could be in your room, the other person could be in the other room. Y'all just don't say shit to one another. You dig what I'm saying? But see, some people, when they put people out, they're doing it for spite. Okay? They're doing it for spite. Okay? I get it. So, one day, I was walking, once again, I was going to work, and I wasn't working at UPS at that time. I was working at this this grocery store by our graveyard, okay? And I'm going to tell y'all something. If you're able to work graveyard, you make more money on graveyard shift than you do on any other shift. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm getting y'all some jewels. Hope you pick them up. Particularly if you want some fast cash. Okay. So I would walk to my car. It was freezing. Okay. And I noticed that there's a bunch of clothes laying outside their apartment. And when you look closer, it's his clothes. So apparently she done threw all his clothes out, out there in the freezing cold. Now I don't know where he's at. He like I said, he don't have a car, and I'm assuming that he's in the house. Okay, so I go to work. Okay, so for a whole week they on this. She's she's on this put out tip. Okay, it wasn't the dead of winter. It was like the fall, and some days will be warm, other days will be a little chippy. Okay. And I remember one time she put him out and he was sitting out there on their little porch. Okay. See, like these apartments, they have these little small porches, and you can put you can go out there, put your little bench, or, make your little garden, whatever you want to do. Okay. And I saw him one time, just in a chair uh, on the porch, and he's trying to sleep. He got a blanket on and everything. Okay, he's shaking like a leaf. Okay, but it ain't none of my business. You dig what I'm saying? It ain't none of my business. So whatever's going on is what's going on. I'm not trying to get into nobody's business. It's none of my business. All right. So they would be on and off. She would be on and off, putting them out. Like I said, I don't live in the same building that they are in. And I don't really hear them arguing shit. Okay. But I started noticing the barbecues started to decline a lot. You dig what I'm saying? And they would, be on and off arguing. Okay. So one day she put him out, and he basically caught a city bus, and I guess he caught the city bus to go to his people's. Okay. And she was by herself for like a month. And I think that's a good idea. Maybe take a break. Go if you got some people that wouldn't mind letting you stay for like maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month, till things chill out, then things will chill out. Okay. So he would catch the city bus to his people's place all the way. He would take about a transfer just to go to Burger King. Okay. And I told you guys, when he was living with his old lady, he could walk to Burger King because Burger King wasn't that far. You dig what I'm saying? Now, since he's at his people's, people don't live in that area, he would have to take a longer bus trip. Okay. So while that's going on, and they try, he's still, going to work, and, maybe separation will, everybody will chill out, and then they'll get back together. You dig what I'm saying? She would be, out and about, and, she was very nice, very old lady. She was very nice, very friendly. I ain't had no issues with her, And one day, it was in the morning time. So it's like now she's got a job, and now she's working at Dunkin' Donuts. Okay. So where I live at, there's McDonald's. Like you drive down the street, there's a stoplight. On the left side, it's Kroger. On the other side, it's like GameStop and like this little plaza. Okay, and there's a stoplight. When you pass the stoplight, there's a McDonald's, a gas station on the other side of the street. There's a Hardee's and a Burger King. Okay, now when you drive further down, there's Dunkin' Donuts. I done had Dunkin' Donuts before. I don't like Dunkin' Donuts. It's all right, but, it's just not for me. I like Krispy Kreme. Fun fact, the only Krispy Kreme we had close, you have to drive to it, was downtown and was over there by the hospital. They don't close that Krispy Kreme down. And I think the the next Krispy Kreme is at Rivergate. You have to drive a spell to go to that Krispy Kreme. It's at the driver's license center. Okay, I'm not driving all the way down there to get some donuts. You dig me? But I like Krispy Kreme donuts. And another fun fact: if you get Krispy Kreme at a grocery store or whatever, a gas station, it ain't the same. It just ain't the same. Okay. I don't know if it's different material or how they cook it. It just ain't the same. Okay. The best Krispy Kreme is when you get it out of their own building. That's a fun fact. Okay. So yeah, she would work at Dunkin' Donuts. And occasionally I see her in her Dunkin' Donuts uniform. And sometimes she will walk to Dunkin' Donuts, but now she gets rides to work, and her boss will come and pick her up. You dig what I'm saying? So one morning, no, I say one afternoon. No, it was a morning. I saw his car. I can recognize his car. He had like a real old school car. A skinny old dude, very friendly, very polite, very respectable. You know, I would see him in Dunkin' Donuts the few times I went to Dunkin' Donuts, okay? And, you know, he knew me by name. And you know, I was wave at him, he'll wave back. Well, this one time, he didn't see me. Like, I'm in my car and I'm cleaning out my car, okay? So he drive past my car and he parks. Normally, he would just, you know, drive up, stay in his car, and you know, stay in his car, wait for her to come to come to his car, and he'll bag it up, and then they'll go out and work. This time he parks in a parking space. Okay, I ain't think much of it. Okay, so he parks in a parking space. I'm thinking, well, maybe he's waiting on her. Maybe she done called and told him that, you know, she's a little late. She's trying to get ready. Okay. I'm thinking like that. I'm continuing to clean my car. Next thing I know, I hear a door slam. I'm like, huh? What the fuck? I look up. Old boy goes, he cuts his car off, shut the car door, goes into the old lady's house. Okay? I'm thinking, well, maybe he's just going to just sit in now. You know what I'm saying? He's just going to sit in now, wait for her, and then they're going to go to work. Okay? I'm still cleaning up my car. It takes a while for me to clean up my car because I'm, you know, I'm detailing my car. I'm vacuuming my car. I got this little portable vacuum cleaner. It's not a big vacuum cleaner, but it's a little portable vacuum cleaner. Okay, so I'm up here vacuuming, and you know, 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by. I'm going like, damn, she must have got up late or something, man. It takes, you know, I know women, it takes them a while to get ready, so I'm thinking like that. Okay. I'm not trying to say I'm keeping time. I'm keeping tab with him. But I swear it was like 15 minutes. He comes back out, hops into his car, and drives off. Now I wouldn't pay it no mind, wouldn't pay it no attention. I would have just said, you know what? She probably was trying to get ready, and she told him like, hey. You know, I'm not gonna be able to go to work because she's sick. Whatever. Okay, it could be any of that shit. Maybe he's a concerned citizen. Maybe want to check up on her. Maybe she's sick. You know, a thousand things in my head. You know, I'm going like, that's probably it. That is nothing more, nothing less. But the reason why I wasn't thinking that way because I was watching him, and as I watched him come out the house, he's straightening up his shirt, zipping his pants up. I'm going like, nah, fam. Dude got him a booty call. This was a booty call. This was not no freaking, I'm going to take you to work. This was a straight booty call. Okay? Now, this is where I got confirmation. Okay? So he's pulling out. He drives off. He still don't see me. So this is my confirmation. She comes walking out, and you know, like a lot of older women, they start wearing them little yoga pants. So that was the Kim Kardashian brought out the yoga pants shit. So now every old woman wants to wear yoga pants. Okay, so now she's taking out her trash. She got on like some yoga pants, and she got on like a regular t-shirt. Nothing more, nothing less. This is what tipped me off. She had no panties. She had no panties on. Okay, she letting that coochie breathe right now. That coochie was doing some overtime. Old boy done got him some. Okay, so ain't none of my business. Okay, what would you do in that situation? I'm not gonna tell her husband that his wife got her a quickie by the manager at Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not gonna tell him none of that shit. Plus, he's not there, and who knows? They probably done separated, whatever. Okay, so I say about 3 months later, after that incident, by the way, 3 months later, I come home. Guess who's barbecuing? My oh boy, he's back up in there. Now I wasn't keeping tabs on their home. He probably was back, he probably came back home before that time I saw him. He's out there barbecuing and this, that, and the third. Now he's barbecuing for the whole community. So I guess he's been gone from his wife for so long. He wants to barbecue for everybody. Okay, I'm up here trying to give him food. Like, hey man, I got some chicken up there. I got some hamburgers hamburger patties up there. He said, no, keep all that. This is on me. Okay, because he's celebrating because he's back in there. He's back in there like swimwear at home. Okay, so now he's barbecuing. They drinking a little bit. She's drinking. She's telling me, go get you a drink, Chris. I'm going like, nah, I can't do that. I made up some excuse that I had to go to work. I didn't have to work. I was on vacation. I just didn't want to drink. I'm not no big drinker. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not no huge drinker. The only alcohol I have ever drunk was beer. And I only drunk it a couple of times. I don't like the taste of beer, okay? So that's the only time. I ain't drunk no hard liquor, no Ciroc, none of that shit. I don't know how that shit tastes like, okay? So I'm not a huge drinker. I'm sorry. So, he's cooking for the kids. Kids playing music up loud. They have a little talent show. Life's good. You dig what I'm saying? Everything's going back to normal. We back in Normalville, okay? I'm not gonna spoil this moment. I'm not gonna tell him that, hey man, your wife, boss got a little booty call from from old girl. I'm not. Hey, look, it ain't none of my motherfucking business. You dig what I'm saying? It's none of my fucking business. All right. So that was the summertime. For the whole summer, I didn't hear nothing. Okay. Then, I say about close to, it was getting ready to get cold. It just had to be in the wintertime. It wasn't the fall, it was wintertime. Then I got back into it again. They back squabbling. So now they arguing. This time it's for good. Now, I don't know what they was arguing about. Hey, look, man. When you think you doing something on the low, somebody's watching. I know I didn't, loose lips sink ships. I know I didn't say nothing. I ain't even hint to him. It ain't none of my motherfucking business. But I know loudmouth Betty done saw the Dunkin' Donut manager go in there. I know for a fact she saw it, and she probably done told somebody, and that somebody told somebody, and then now the whole community knows. You dig what I'm saying? So that's probably what they was arguing about. And this was, permanent. He just, he moved out. He quit his job at Burger King, and from the little time I talked to him, he basically said that he's gonna move back to his people, and when he gets thanks for the thumbs up. When he gets his ish together, he's gonna get his own place, okay? And from there, I ain't heard from him since then. You dig what I'm saying? It's kind of effed up, but it is what it is. That's he done went his way and he done moved out. Now he moved out in about possibly 3 years. I say about 2 years later, she moved out. You dig what I'm saying? Because see, the apartment complex, it started to get better. We went through like three different companies that owned the apartments, and one of the companies owned us twice. They owned us and they sold us to somebody, and then they came back. I guess they bought them out. I don't know. Something done happened. Now they owned it, but they only owned it temporarily. And then Then this other company came in and bought them out, or they bought sold it to them. I don't know. And now it's getting actually better. You know, it's actually getting better. It's the whole apartment complex is now gated. We got police. We got security guards here. We got we got maintenance. We got better maintenance people here. It wasn't no shade tree maintenance company or maintenance people or things of that nature. You know, um, and it was just getting better. They started to remodel the place, put better paneling. They put money into the apartment complex. They gave us on my building. They gave us a whole new roof. Well, they fixed the roof, and they remodeled the apartments. Okay, so I had to move out of my apartment because there was and I moved into the refurbished apartment. So it was, which was only across from where I lived, where my old apartments were. Okay, I moved in there, man. That mud was tight. Okay, the carpet was better. Hardwood floor. It started to look good. Now with all of these changes, they no longer accepting Section 8. And when they made that decision, they was no longer accepting Section 8, which, I knew they was going to come to that point that they was no longer going to accept Section 8, because I'm not saying it for all Section 8 tenants, but come on, let's be real. Some Section 8 tenants, they don't really take care of their place because they're not putting no money in it. They're not investing in it. And they, the government is paying for you to live there. So, you're not going to take care of nothing that you don't have to work a 9 to 5 to maintain it, basically. Okay. I'm not saying all Section 8 tenants are like that, but the ones that, was here, they didn't give a fuck about this place. There'd be trash everywhere, broken down cars, shootings and things of that nature. So they no longer accepting Section 8. So when they said that, all the people that had Section 8 started moving out. I mean, they were moving out in abundance, okay? Every day I would see like 3 or 4 U-Haul trucks, moving out, getting the fuck out of Dodge, out of here. One U-Haul truck was trying to get out of here so fast, they forgot to shut their door. So when they came down the hill and then drove off into the main street, the door was still up, and they had TVs falling out of the mud. They had flat screen TVs falling out of it. And, I'm trying to flag them down. I'm going like, hey, your shit's coming out of the U-Haul truck. You dig what I'm saying? But they were driving so fast, they weren't paying me no attention. Now, it was a female. I don't know. Maybe she was pissed off. I don't know. Maybe she had shit going on. I don't know. But there was another lady that was helping her move, and she drove up in her car, and she was trying to pick up the TVs to put in her car, and I helped her, and she was telling me, yeah, I'm trying to help her move. She don't know about this. I'm trying to call her, but she won't pick up the phone. So, I helped her put the TV and what stuff came out of the truck, and she drove off trying to chase the girl down. Well, whatever the case. Anyway, so everybody was moving out of here. Now, when when they started moving out, the clientele, people thought the clientele was going to get better. Okay. Now, it got kind of rough when they all moved out. But then when they started to, it got a little rough in the beginning, but in actuality, it actually got extremely better. Okay, and that's pretty much it for Hood Tales. Hope everyone liked. Hope everyone liked my live stream. I really do appreciate y'all coming in. Uh, as always, rate, comment, subscribe, share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this channel active in the YouTube algorithm. You heard me. Let me see if I got any messages. I probably didn't get any messages. Nope, I didn't get any messages. That's what I thought. Okay. So y'all got about 80 minutes of me just constantly talking. And there was some stuff that I wanted to talk to you guys about, but unfortunately, I done ran out of time. Okay, but I will tell in a future episode of Based on a True Story podcast, because this is a wild episode. Wild. I mean, this next episode is gonna be crazy wild. Okay. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. It's your boy, the host with the most. I do not brag on both. I'm coming to you guys live from coast to coast. I'm up out of here. I'm gone.